and welcome to the top 4 round of the Bandai Card Fest 1v1 season qualifier. My name is Jake. You'd also call me Atrocious. This event that happened in Japan, we're finally in the top 4. Very excited for this one, knowing some of the decks that are inside this top 4, one being one of my personal favorites for OP15. Before we get into this, just want to let you know, though, that I am here doing some unique English commentary over this championship to try to make it someday onto the big stage with Bandai and maybe learn a thing or two about the OP15 format with you all. But also, I am not the official live stream. If you want to check out the official live stream, I do have that linked, as always, in the description below, that you can go check out and watch the real thing, because I don't own this, what we're watching. Another thing as well is if you missed any of the other rounds of this championship, I've got a playlist hosting every single round in that playlist. And to give you an idea of what the top 4 decks are, we even have the matchups of the top 4 decks, which they don't typically do, I feel like, in these championships. Over on the first table, you've got a yellow Luffy that we saw earlier in the tournament and one blue-yellow Nami left standing. Very interesting to see in this top 4, especially because the other table is not only the black Crocodile that we saw previously in this tournament, but purple Doflamingo. So in this top 4, there's no Boa Hancock, purple Anel, and there's no red-blue Lucy. Some of the top decks within this format, very curious to see. I am so excited to get into this. I hope you are too. But before we get into that, though, I got to pay rent this month, so let's hear from more from our sponsor.
Just like it's hot out here in Las Vegas, Garden has some hot new products that I definitely think you should be getting. Not only can you style up your playmat with the beautiful new Golden Memory collection that they've got on their website, they've even got other styles like the Empress playmat and so much more. Specifically, I also want to talk about the body bags. They are a hot commodity on their website, but especially as new crossbody bags come in new designs or even pre-existing ones like this Zoro. This can fit a fair amount of stuff, right? I've got this double deck box, I've got a regular decks box, and a dice kit in here to hold up to 3 unique decks. But if I'm going to a regular tournament, I can bring my 1 deck box, I can put my dice kit in here, and I can also fit in here my 2-player cloth mat. Just zip it on up, and now I'm ready to go to my latest tournament. Make sure to stay at the top of your game with your latest Garden purchase by using code Atrocious for 10% off your order. Whether that's playmats, this beautiful pin, or even this t-shirt, you can get some of the best accessories in the game and help support the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and let's get back to the video.
And so it looks like we're going to be watching the Crocodile Doflamingo match. So 2 leaders that came out in OP14, the last set. Doflamingo has seen a bit of limelight since its release, right? Doing very well in the championships, not only in Japan, but also here in the West as well. Nathan Fong not only getting second at Bandai Card Fest, but also top 4 at the last World Championships. Doflamingo, really interesting deck. I love this leader, right? Especially as one of the best base leader arts of the game, especially because its leader effect is so unique, right? Being able to redirect in attack makes it a really intricate game plan that I think is kind of hard to pilot. Crocodile, another one of my favorite decks in OP14 that came out, and in the format in general, we've seen how Crocodile has the ability with that leader effect to be able to stun so many different characters, up to like 3 different characters in a single turn, preventing them from either restanding or attacking on the refresh phase. So gonna be really curious to see where this Doflamingo goes. I know this Doflamingo actually is a fellow content creator over on the space, so make sure to go check out their channel. I'll link it in the description below. They're a very good player. But looking at the Crocodile's hand, they've got a bit of searching to start out this game in 2 of the disappointed search events and 1 Miss Valentine. They also got a couple 2Ks in Merry Christmas and Miss Wednesday. You can't complain about. So it's going to be up to those searches to find some of their key pieces in the mid stages of this game. Doflamingo, though, has a 1-cost sugar to be able to get some searching for their own at the beginning, as well as a Dellinger, and also as a 5-cost Pika. Pika is not typically something that we've seen in these different lists for Doflamingo in the format, but being able at the end of turn to consistently get that 1 Dawn ramped as active may bode well, especially if this Pika can stay alive for a long time within the game, right? Have the opportunity to ramp multiple times for a game, which is not something that you see very often in the One Piece card game, cards ramping multiple times. And so Doflamingo going second, I think more than likely stealing the curve from Crocodile. There's a good debate on whether Crocodile wants to go first or second, but I really believe that Crocodile typically wants to go second in a lot of matchups, just really because on that second turn, you're going to have Fordon to be able to play something like Bon Clay. But now having the odd curve, you have to wait until turn 3 to be able to get that. So the first 2 turns going to be mostly searching. Let's get off into this match. We start now with the Disappointed. You always start out with the event first and finds a Bon Clay right away, but has a tough option of either Bon Clay or the 8-cost Crocodile. I like the grab of the Bon Clay on this search. Even though the 8-cost Crocodile is huge for your game plan and you love having it, a lot of these Crocodile decks in the OP14 format, or OP15 I should say, have included more of the Mr. for Babe, right? Be able to grab that Crocodile from the trash. So Doflamingo on his first turn going second is going to grab both Sugar and Dellinger to play out onto the field, and Crocodile now is going to start out with Disappointed, is going to find Daz Bones, Miss Wednesday, and also a zombie Luffy. Grabbing the Miss Wednesday is just going to be nice to be able to get in some extra counter in hand, right? You hate that the 7-cost Luffy hit the trash, but you do set up another Daz Bones now for you. And so now with Valentine looking at the top 4, ooh, a lot of Luffy's hitting the trash. Luffy is such a good card if you watch in the top 8 round that we showcase. So 3 of them hitting the trash is not good news, I would say, for this Crocodile player, but it's something that is definitely manageable. In now with the 5,000 power swing, Doflamingo is going to use the leader effect to redirect on the Dellinger, right? Dellinger on the on-KO re-ramps a Dawn and searches within the top 5 for a Doflamingo Pirates kind of card and opts for Sugar. Sugar could be really good, right, to play on the field. It helps you cheat out one of your 5-cost or less Baroque work cards if your opponent has 6 or more Dawn, which could be something like Pika. So going to be curious to see how he approaches it with Sugar in this matchup. Also being a ramp card is very nice, and with 1 Dawn open, just passes off the turn. No more 1-drops that he wants to play out on the field like Merry Christmas or Miss Wednesday. Now going into a 4 Dawn turn is going to start out swinging 5, and now Crocodile taking it, putting it in hand. I can't tell exactly what it is. No trigger though. With the 4 Dawn is going to play out that Sugar on play, ramps 1 Dawn as active, going to be able to search up in Dawn with the Sugar. And you got to be careful with the wording of Sugar, right? And also you're redirecting into the Sugar, but because the Sugar ramped 1 Dawn, now you have a Dawn left as active to be able to utilize with that 1-cost Sugar that you have on the field to be able to search once again in that top 5 to find a Doflamingo Pirates kind of card. But first, plays down the 1-cost Dellinger. So I kind of like this play, actually. Not only do you get to have potentially a redirect option that you like to be able to search with Dellinger, but also it keeps your 1-cost Sugar safe a little bit longer, right? Especially if you turn that sideways, this Miss Valentine would probably swing into it. And so now on the 5 Dawn turn is going to go ahead, tap 4 to play the Bon Clay. Now is going to go in with the leader effect on the Sugar, and we'll see if he mills 2. Looks like he is going to opt for that grab none of those cards, but play a 5-cost or less Baroque Works type character in the trash, since we saw the Daz Bones is going to get that Daz Bones on the field to rest the Sugar. And now if you can KO it with these different swings, the 6,000 power swing of Daz Bones going at the Sugar, you'll be able to not proc that Sugar's on KO effect, as we see right there. So now the 5,000 power swing going in at lead right now, still has that redirect option and is going to go for that with the Dellinger. Search once again for the top 5. You really like being able to get rid of that Sugar right as your deck finding Daz Bones has a natural reaction to get rid of it on this turn before you hit 6 Dawn. Is going to put Dofi in a situation where now he's going to have to build the board. You've got stuff like Virgo and Monet that you can grab. Virgo, so good, especially once these big bodies like Miss All Sunday or a zombie Luffy come down on the field, because Virgo is going to be able to minus 2,000 power one of those characters to help try to pressure board and really control what's going on. The 5-cost Monet, though, is going to be a really nice option if you want to ramp some Dawn while also maybe redirecting into it for a KO to be able to cycle the deck a little bit and re-ramp some awesome. Is going to go for the sugar, though, similar to what we did on the turn prior, just to be able to play that down onto the field, ramp a Dawn once again, and maybe threaten a redirect option into playing out another body like the Pika in hand. Doflamingo now going to go into his next turn, I think is at 7 Dawn now, if my memory is correct, is going to go ahead and read the Daz Bones to start out, but on the one, play the Sugar. So the Sugar going to be looking through that top 5 for a Don Quixote Doflamingo Pirates kind of card, and is going to go for a 8-cost Doflamingo. The 8-cost Doflamingo is so good within this deck, just like in Crocodile, how Miss All Sunday can spread the board wide with different characters. Doflamingo can too, right? Being able to play 5-cost or less Baroque works kind of character. Now attaching 1 Dawn is going to swing 6,000 power at the Daz Bones, ask for a card out of hand from this Crocodile. Has a couple 2Ks to utilize. Also, I believe has a 1K in that Bon Clay, but you might want to save that Bon Clay for potentially in a future turn, but maybe is thinking about getting the Zombie Luffy on the field. Going to be curious because you are at 7 Dawn. You will start gaining these extra effects here soon from the Zombie Luffy, and ends up going with the Miss Wednesday and hard playing the Pika. Pika at the end of turn is going to be able to ramp that 1 Dawn as he passes it off into the Crocodile's turn. And again, this is an end of every turn, not just the one turn that you played it. So if this Pika stays on the field, it's going to be a huge threat into the Crocodile's game plan to consistently go back up to 10 Dawn for something like that 10-cost Doflamingo in the hand. So now starting off the swings over at Sugar, is going to swing Valentine 2,000 power into it, is going to collect that knockout and force the Crocodile now to maybe commit a Dawn to be able to maybe swing in and not force the redirect into the Pika, but instead goes with this Bon Clay, is going to use that knockout and get the Miss All Sunday in trash, which is definitely not something you want to see. But because this Pika is 0, you have a couple different options like this Mr. 5 gem to be able to draw 2 trash 1 because there is a 0 on the field. You have 3 Dawn to work with for your leader, and Daz Bones ends up drawing 2 cards and pitches another one of the Mr. 5s just in case you're able to bring back another Mr. 4. So now is thinking about attaching 1 or maybe using 1. I think drew into a disappointed, and is going to go 6,000 power now at lead. Is going to take that first life as Doflamingo, put it in the hand, does not want to give anything up in there. And now an 8,000 power aggressive swing going in at lead. If he decides to redirect using his leader effect, he's going to have to give 2 cards in hand, multiple cards, to be able to get rid of this Pika. So he opts for the life, ends up going down 2-3, and the pass off the turn goes for Doflamingo. Now Doflamingo going to, I believe, a full 10 Dawn at this point because of that ramp effect. Now we can go in and do as a bit of Dawn minusing just to be able to play out different characters on the field and stuff of the sort. We see the Usohachi in hand, a treble, another 2K, and not really very good targets for Doflamingo. If he wanted to, he could be able to use the 10-cost Doflamingo to play on the field, especially because that 10-cost has an effect of up to 3 or more opponents' characters with a cost of 7 or less cannot be rested until the end of the opponent's next end phase. Could say that this blocker would not be able to block if he wanted to, right? So is going to start out with 6 at the Daz Bones, is going to 1K out of that attack, and the 10 cost coming down, has to Dawn -3 in order to utilize this effect, and is just going to actually KO, right, an 8 cost or less. That's one of the other effects that could happen, and goes ahead, swings the Doflamingo leader over at the Valentine to minimize the amount of bodies on board. Now passes off the turn, still has 1 Dawn open because of that Pika effect. Again, once per turn can restand a Dawn as active and ramp. The 10 costs are definitely going to be a problem for the Crocodile to deal with, right? Especially because the 8 cost Crocodile's on play effect is not going to be able to stun right away. The Doflamingo has to use leader effect to -10 the Doflamingo and then go in with the Crocodile's on KO effect. So is going to start out though with 1 on this 9 Dawn turn, I believe it is, for a disappointed. Is going to go in, has a tough choice now between Crocodile and the Miss All Sunday. You're fine with the Mr. 4 going down onto the field, right? Because you could go ahead, if you chose Miss All Sunday, to bring back out the Ball and Clay, use leader effect on the Ball and Clay to bring out the Mr. 4, and then get the on KO effect of Mr. 4 to maybe get that Crocodile in the hand. So now you've got a choice of whether or not on this turn you want to go with the Miss All Sunday or the Crocodile. A lot of players like to go with the Miss All Sunday first, just simply then because they can get the board a little bit wider in certain matchups like this. Force the Doflamingo player to have multiple 10 costs in consecutive turns to be able to answer their board. So now with the 6,000 power swing, does have the redirect option, but if he redirects with his leader effect, he's not going to be able to be at 10 Dawn in the next turn, which I think is fine because you're not going to play 10 cost Doflamingo. So just redirects into the 10 cost because your leader says you can redirect an attack into one of your Don Quixote, Doflamingo, Pirates characters or leader. So opts for that big 10 cost, and since it's sitting at 10,000 power, that attack just fizzles out entirely. Is going to go with the Miss All Sunday now. Go ahead and play a 4-cost Baroque Works character, and a 1-cost or less is going to be that Miss Wednesday. And so now, especially with this leader effect of being able to -10 the Pika, is going to be able to use the on KO effect of the Ball and Clay to play something out on the field. Maybe if he's got another Daz Bones, he could play it out onto the field, or maybe just replay Mr. 5 to get another draw filter yet again, and it looks like it's going to be Daz Bones. Even though you don't rest anything, right, since there's a 0-cost character on the field, you're going to be able to swing into it, right, as Daz Bones. If there's a 0 or 8-cost or higher on the field, you can swing into characters on the turn that it's played. The Miss Wednesday trashing itself. If there's a 0-cost on the field, you can -3,000 power on that 0-cost, is going to make Pika a 3,000 power character, and especially because we already use leader effect to redirect the attack, now this Pika is going to eat up potentially 2 6,000 power swings maybe, and so lets the knockout happen right there with the Daz Bones that was just played on this turn. Now this 6,000 power going at lead. So a decent job right now as the Crocodile, kind of controlling the board a little bit, not letting these value bodies like Pika stay alive. And stuff like that Pika and the Sugar, I think, is going to bode well for him in this one. But we'll have to see on this 6,000 power swing if he decides to give up that 2K treble or Uso Hachi in hand. Has plenty of different events like the 2 slow beams in the hand. But I like taking this, right? You're trying to find a nice target for your 8-cost Doflamingo effect, right? Being able to cheat out a 5-cost Don Quixote Pirates character onto the field. And so with the draw per turn, I can't exactly see the hand from this angle. I think has some SP Sugars now sitting at 9 Dawn in total. There is an opportunity that you could go in with the Don Quixote Doflamingo to play the 4-cost Sugar on the field. And then if you happen to have another 5-cost, you could maybe like 1 ramp with Sugar's effect, but also on top of that, go ahead and cheat out a character if a redirect attack goes into it. So with the 10,000 power Doflamingo swing, just takes care of one of these Daz Bones that are on the field. Still don't know exactly what's in the hand over on the tail end of the left side, just simply because he was covering up. I know slow beam, but then some alternate arts. A little bit hard to distinguish, I feel like, at certain points. I think has 2 8-cost Doflamingos in the hand right now. Obviously, could only play one of them on this turn. Definitely could be a tricky spot because, especially if you don't populate the field super fast, Crocodile is going to be able to stun a lot of these characters. Another 6K swing is going to 2K out of it with the Merry Christmas in the hand. Does have another Patchwork in there and is going to go with Doflamingo to play out a 5-cost or less, and is going to be that Sugar as we mentioned. So that Sugar on the field is going to threaten a redirect target into the Sugar for potentially spamming out a 5-cost character, and is going to really make it awkward, I feel like, for this Crocodile to hit the timing that he wants to be able to get that leader effect going off, right? Because if he plays the 8-cost Crocodile on the field to stun some of these bodies, well, then all of a sudden the redirect into Sugar to play out another character means that that character might be able to attack on the turn. But if he goes in as this 7,000 power swing going in at lead, is going to take the life go down to 1. I think that's a 5-cost Rosinante right there. Is thinking about attaching this 1 Dawn or maybe 2. If he attaches 2, he's more than likely going in with a Miss All Sunday, right? But no, it's just going to go with 1 on the 6,000 power swing. I'm sorry, is going to force a 2K out of hand in that Uso Hachi. Still plenty of cards in hand, but not 2 Dawn left as active for this Doflamingo. Still has the leader effect to be able to redirect the attack on the Miss All Sunday. So maybe he might not even swing the Miss All Sunday at this point. Is going to go ahead with the 7 for another Miss All Sunday to just get a wide board, maybe play the Daz Bones yet again on this turn. But first, starts out with the Valentine to build up even more at this point. Finds another Crocodile, a ground death as well, and opts for the ground death to put it in hand for just a bit of counter, because if you don't have the counter, you could go sideways, but instead goes for the 8-cost Crocodile. Again, another good option, I will say. Is going to use leader effect on this Mr. 2. It's hard to remember all their numbers in my opinion, and is going to go ahead -10 on this Doflamingo. Maybe thinking about using Patchwork on this turn to force this 10-cost Doflamingo to stay rested on his next upcoming turn, and plays out a Mr. 4 Babe to be able to utilize that on KO effect. The Patchwork is going to -3 somewhere and stun a 0-cost character to be able to force them not to restand on the next turn, and so opts for that Doflamingo. And now really the attacking threats for Doflamingo on this turn is only limited to his leader and that 8-cost that we have on the field. Sugar, not really something that we have to worry about at this point, and still sitting at 4 life. Only with 1, you're in a situation where maybe you need to leave some Dawn open for the slow beam. So how do you go around and navigate that? You've got another 8-cost in the hand to be able to spam out a body onto the field, but I don't know if you really have a good body at this point, despite all the searching that you were able to do at the beginning of this game off multiple Dellingers and a 1-cost Sugar. And so I like this idea of the Crocodile to just wait on the stuns for 1 more turn, kind of keep the brakes a little bit before playing their 8-cost. Just whittle down the hand just a little bit more on this Doflamingo and put him in situations where your board gets much wider with powerful characters. Starts out with a Sugar onto the field. That's going to be 2 Dawn, maybe looking for a 5-cost to play off of the 8-cost Dofi, and it looks like a Virgo is in the hand. Virgo is definitely going to be a nice option, but maybe Baby 5 is a good option, right? Being able to heal if an attack goes into it, which works well with your leader effect, could be something to be able to build up your life a little bit more and try to buy you a turn. We saw how good Baby 5 was in the World Championships, right, with Nathan Fong in that top 4 match, but is maybe eyeing up another Pika. I don't know, I kind of like the Virgo in this sense, although Virgo more than likely going to be stunned continuously because of his ability to control the field, so I actually wouldn't have minded Pika to be able to just continuously get that re-ramp effect at the end of every turn, right? Crocodile could stun and not prevent attacks from the Pika, but you would still have that effect of the once per turn. But opts with that Virgo, definitely a great card, do not get me wrong. The Doflamingo, 9,000 power swings at the Daz Bones, ends up getting rid of it on the field, not opting for the block as of yet. Now is going to go 5,000 power at lead right here. I think is going to go with a counter, but ends up taking the life, going out to 3. So 3 life left. Is going to go ahead and not play the 8-cost, but play the Virgo down onto the field. Maybe wanting to keep this 1-cost and 4-cost Sugar on the field right now, surprisingly. It's going to make the Baroque Works Crocodile thinking starting out this turn is going to 2k attack the Sugar with the Miss Valentine. That searcher on the field right now is maybe thinking about using the slow beam because he does have 3 Dawn as active. Could get this rested Mr. 4 sideways, but decides to hold off. Just lets that attack go through. Maybe waits until the Crocodile commits a little bit more on the offensive before going in with that strategy. Now the Miss All Sunday swinging 8,000 power at lead. Could be able to get out of this attack with the slow beam and treble, right? Going up to 9,000 power. Or you could just redirect it into one of these bodies like the big 10-cost Doflamingo. So goes out with that slow beam, is going to go ahead and rest one of these bodies, is going to opt for the Miss All Sunday, right? Just to be able to thwart the amount of bodies that are coming in, and is going to 9,000 out of the attack. Only with 1 real attacker left in this Crocodile leader, is going to try to force the leader effect now on this swing, and is going to go exactly that. Or actually first is going to use the 8-cost Doflamingo effect, right, to tap 1 Dawn to re-ramp 1 Dawn. And now I wouldn't mind using leader effect, right? I don't think you're worried about this Mr. Babe swinging and is going to redirect into the sugar to play out the treble. So not the most ideal character to be able to play out, but treble does have an activate main. If you do not know, right, on opponent's turn, once per turn, when a card on your field is returned to your Dawn deck, if your leader has the Don Quixote Pirates type, you can add one Dawn from your Dawn deck as rested. So basically a re-ramp kind of effect. Maybe not necessarily super applicable in this situation, but it is going to be a 5,000 power body to be able to swing at the Crocodile every single turn. So actually goes in aggressive with the Mr. for a Babe and goes in, takes that life, goes down to 0, and now the 8-cost Crocodile coming in is going to stun the 8-cost Crocodile because there's a 10 cost on the field, is going to draw one card with the on-play effect. Now the on-KO effect, KOing the Crocodile to -10, the Doflamingo. And now pitching a card in hand is going to be able to replay this Crocodile out on the field to guarantee that that Doflamingo is not going to swing, drawing one card since we don't have a Patchwork in hand, and passes off the turn. Now only 3 swings are going to be viable for the Doflamingo right now in the treble, Virgo, and leader. And we've got a plenty of counter in hand with the ground death, a couple 2Ks on top of that to be able to stay alive in this turn and still pretty healthy at 3 life, especially because we're going to get another double stun turn in the next turn with another 8-cost Crocodile in the hand. So now, once again, you're starting to see the strength of this Crocodile and why it's so cool in this deck and why I'm so excited for it is going to go into the sugar to look at the top 5. Has a 10-cost Doflamingo that he could grab, but I'm not 100% sure that you want to do it specifically just because you can't play it on this turn, right? Would it be better to maybe go in with something like Monet to, after you swing with the treble, go in and play the Monet over the sugar? But no, goes in with that 10-cost Dofi, is maybe trying to say, okay, I'm going to put you on a clock. This 10-cost Dofi is coming down onto the field. Maybe in this next turn, it's going to be a body that you have to deal with, and I'm going to either try to stun 3 or more of your 7-cost characters, because a lot of Crocodiles have actually gotten rid of the double fingers in their decks in placement of this 7-cost Luffy. So no way for these 7-cost Miss All Sundays to gain cost in this deck. So there's a potential for this 10-cost Doflamingo in the next turn to be able to say, okay, both of your Miss All Sundays not going to be able to attack, and also one of your other bodies, which could include the Mr. 4, which, by the way, also includes them not being able to be rested, so you're not going to get that value on the on-KO block to maybe get like an extra 2K in your hand or something of the sort. Definitely an interesting situation, especially because you turn the Mr. 4 sideways on this turn. You're not going to get the block value potentially, and is going to start out with the Virgo. The Virgo 7,000 power swing is going to go at life, not using that when attacking effect, is going to put the Crocodile down to 2. Now another 7,000 power swing with this treble is just try to 2K check or bait out a 1-cost ground death out of hand to be able to get out of these attacks. Only has 1 more attack left in the Doflamingo leader, and so is going to take it, go down to 1. Is going to be a 1K Bon Clay, so you still have a fair amount of counter in hand. But it'd be curious to actually maybe see a Divine Departure in this. Actually, no, I don't think I like Divine Departure. I think I like leaving up multiple Dawn right here after this 7,000 power swing, just passing off the turn. But first, got to get out of the 7,000 power swing. Is going to be a 2K, 1K to get out of that attack. And now we go into the next turn, especially with 2 slow beams in hand. You can get out of a couple different swings right here, but I think the biggest issue is you only have 1 to redirect and 1 life to go with multiple swings in from these Miss All Sundays, the leader, and this Crocodile. But especially with a patchwork that has been gained, you can stun 3 different bodies. You can stun the Virgo, the 9-cost, or the 8-cost, and the 10-cost on this turn, even if a slow beam comes in and gets out of this attack from the Miss All Sunday. You can essentially buy yourself another turn with so much Dawn in the ground death, and also some of the counter in your hand, and the filtering that you can do with the Crocodile. I think the Crocodile is sitting in a pretty good position, even if the double slow beam comes in on this turn, to be able to get out of that attack and rest 2 bodies like the 8-cost and the 7 cost, but with the 2 slow beams, now you have to decide between either the Crocodile and Mr. 4, the Miss Wednesday or Crocodile, or the Miss Wednesday and Mr. 4. You've got kind of a tricky situation because there are 4 bodies left after this attack to be able to swing with, and you can only rest 2 of them and redirect 1. And so with 2 is going to go ahead with a slow beam plus 2,000 power, and rest 1 of these characters is going to go with the Crocodile because it is a 10,000 power character. I don't hate this play. And so now you're going to decide between Mr. 4 and Miss All Sunday. But first, because of the treble effect on that once per turn, you have the opportunity to re-ramp 1 Dawn. But first, we're going to play out the other slow beam just to get to 9,000 power and rest that pesky blocker, the treble, now re-ramping 1 of the Dawn. You still have your leader effect to be able to utilize to propel 1 of these attacks, but it's all about how much counter you think they have in hand, right? Especially because you can go with an 8,000 power swing now at lead. Now this treble is a optional whenever it happens, so you don't have to do it right away on the first slow beam. You can use it on the second one, I believe. I think that's kind of what they're talking about right now. I think there was a question between the 2 players. Yeah, because treble says add up to, or actually, I don't know. Maybe it is. Oh, actually, no, because you didn't do it the first time, you lose out on that check. It is just a once check that happens immediately on that first time. So good job by the judging staff. I actually didn't know about that ruling because when I was playing Doflamingo, I almost never played treble out onto the field and never had like a double slow beam kind of situation, but is going to be able to get out of this attack with the different counter. And now, actually, with the Miss Valentine, you could go get game right now. There is 1 redirect attack, but with only 2 cards in hand, and well, actually, you don't know that one of them is an 8 cost Doflamingo, I believe. How much counter do they actually have? It could be a 0 cost event again to be able to be plus 3,000 power. If you wanted to go for a game specifically right now, just going in with a 5,000 power swing, I think is just going to try to buy another turn, right? Especially because you can stun so many bodies. Is going to use the on KO effect after countering out of that one on the Crocodile to be able to minus 10 somewhere out onto the field. I think you have to minus 10. Ooh, if you do, I think you minus 10 the Virgo right now. And so I actually think you might not be able to stun this 10 cost Doflamingo, but after playing it out onto the field, you are going to say that that 8 cost is not going to be able to attack, and you draw 1 card. And now with the 1 Dawn, go in with a patchwork to be able to actually minus 3 on the, you can minus 3 on the 10 cost Doflamingo. Now that the Virgo is a 0 cost, say that, okay, that will not restand at the next turn. And now if you go in after swinging and clearing this sugar, before you forget, now as you go in with this 8 cost Crocodile, now with his on play effect, because the Doflamingo is a 7 cost and the Crocodile only checks current cost, now you'll be able to say that that 10 cost cannot attack in the next turn, stunning all 3 of them and leaving only 2 attacks between the treble and the Doflamingo, with 1 Dawn left active as your ground death and 3 2Ks in hand plus an additional 1K from the Valentine. You cannot lose on this turn, and you're going to be able to buy yourself enough time. Now on the swing, coming in 8,000 power is going to ground death and 1K to be able to get out of that attack. And now Doflamingo going in with 7,000 power at lead is going to 2K to still stay at 1 life and play down the baby 5 to maybe buy another turn. But with only 1 card in hand and only 1 redirect, I think the body's on field. Crocodile is going to be moving into the finals of this championship. I'm so excited to watch him in the finals. Is going to go ahead 7,000 power. The redirect happening into baby 5, and the baby's 5's on KO effect is going to Dawn -1 and heal 1. Now the swinging going in 7 at lead is going to take that last life, and now the 9 going in is going to claim the win. Crocodile advancing into the championships. Very exciting and showcasing you, especially on that last turn, right? Being able to utilize the patchwork, not necessarily to -3, the same 0 cost as we typically saw in that last round, but using it to proactively minus that 10 cost to put it in range from the Crocodile. There's so many different cool lines with this deck. I love watching this deck play Crocodile, and I hope you understand why I'm so excited about it in this one. Or wait, that was the finals. Wait, what? That was the finals? Oh, so actually this was 2 different qualifier tournaments happening. Oh, that is so interesting. So they basically, if you were in top 4, you were guaranteed finals between these two. So like the previous round that we did was still, I think, top 8, right? Because of these 8 decks right here. Oh, that is so interesting the way that they did this. I did not realize that. I'm sorry. So I'm going to have to leave a note at the beginning of the video that this is actually like the championship of sort. Oh, that's so interesting. I did not realize that. I actually didn't know much about this tournament heading into it, because if you did not see over the course of the weekend when this tournament was happening, I was actually casting the Mesquite Regionals as an official commentator of that championship. So I missed out on this. I didn't get to watch it live or really like see anything from this tournament. So really cool actually that the Crocodile was able to win one of these 2 finals matches, and the content creator that was piloting Doflamingo, very, very good as well, getting the runner-up finish. Very, very cool to see. I love the Crocodile play. Very happy for this deck, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching this one. As we see, it's interesting though. Wait, so are they only showing one of the trophy showcases then? That was that one, so the other one doesn't get a trophy showcase? I'm actually so confused. I'm gonna have to ask Qualifier about this. Oh, wait, no, this is the, oh, so this was the other match right here that happened. This was the, we saw this guy earlier in the tournament, actually. This was the yellow mono Luffy player that actually ended up winning this section. He ended up winning the match against this player who was piloting Nami. So interesting. So out of the 2 winners, you had yellow OP15 Luffy and black Crocodile. Oh, very cool. Very curious in that one. Dang, not exactly how I thought that was going to play out. Oh, so I guess I only have 3 videos to edit now, as I recorded this entire tournament on the same day. That's okay. That gives me much more time to eventually get into my ban list discussion video, which I have lots of thoughts about, especially after watching both the 3-on-3 championship and this one. And I've got some interesting thoughts on this meta. Very curious to hear your guys' opinions as well in that one. So that video will come out in, if it hasn't come out already, it'll be out within the next day or so, I think. And thank you so much for watching, and apologize that I was not aware. If you do not know, I watch these without having to none really anything except what the tournament is and what the deck distribution is, not necessarily where everything places or anything like that. I was under the assumption there were 4 rounds in this tournament, but there was actually only 3. Very interesting how they did that. As I try to do these live to give myself the practice of live casting to make it on the big stage with Bandai someday. But anyways, I'll get off my box. Thank you so much for watching. That was a fun round as well, and we'll see you later. Check out some of the other videos that we got on this channel of the championships.